We talk college football here every day. Ask that you subscribe here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and smash that like button. We're talking Tide with Gary Harris from WVUA in Tuscaloosa. And most people expected to see Alabama-Clemson Part 5 during the playoff era. We see Ohio State-Alabama. So while Alabama and Clemson had that burgeoning rivalry of sorts on a national level, postseason variety, this would be the biggest combination of in-the-moment landscape college football powers currently, but also historically. I don't know if you can get two programs together that carry as much weight as these two.
I don't either. And I had a guy on this morning on my radio show, Jared Smalley, the sports director at NBC4 in Columbus, and he put it this way. You could call Alabama Ohio State South. You call Ohio State Alabama North. These, as you said, two of the traditional blue bloods in college football. Both teams recruit at the highest level. They have all the facilities. They have all the resources. They have everything in place that you need to play for championships, passionate fan bases that are second to none. So they really are mirror images, other than one's in the Southeastern Conference and one is in the Big Ten, and they're fighting for that conference pride on Monday night too. But this is the creme de la creme now. And after watching Ohio State dismantle Clemson the way they did in that college football playoff semifinal at the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, I knew Ohio State was good. I had not seen them play like that all season. They played their best game. Now, they may be capable of reproducing it on Monday night against Alabama, but that's the best game they've played. And that night, they were a dominant football team. Now, Mark, they were motivated to win that game because of what happened last year against Clemson. And then, obviously, even though I think Dabo Swinney did it for the purposes of making a point that he didn't feel like Ohio State played enough games to earn a spot in the top four, still voting them 11th in the college football coaches poll, motivated that team. And they went out and they just curb stomped Clemson. I mean, I thought both lines of scrimmage, they dominated. Justin Fields, 6 touchdown passes, nearly 400 yards, even after he took that shot from Skowski in the ribs. Sermon continued what he had started in the Big Ten championship game, running wild. Receivers making plays downfield. Defensively, they got after Trevor Lawrence. They contained the running game with Etienne. As I said, they won the line of scrimmage. So I thought they looked every bit the part of a national championship contender, and I do think these are the two best teams in college football, and I do think this is the toughest opponent Alabama has faced all year, as it should be. And I think, obviously, for Ohio State, it'll be their toughest opponent. I think you got the two best teams in college football squaring off for the national championship.
So, Gary, you brought this together perfectly because Alabama's looked like the best football team, aside from a few defensive hiccups a couple of times since basically week one. Ohio State, everyone knew, and even the College Football Playoff Committee, I'm going to say, elevated them to a status right out of the gate that they didn't necessarily earn. Not that they did anything wrong, but didn't have the games played. So it was always thought, okay, these are two of the three best teams in the country, no doubt. But Ohio State rarely showed it, didn't have much of an opportunity, but then they pull it all together in one game while Alabama's been the best wire to wire. So when you look at the matchups, I think we're gonna start you out with Alabama as the given, as the 7 to 8 point favorite, as most people believing they're the best. Where do you see the possibilities for Ohio State pulling off the upset?
Well, right off the bat, we know when you look back at when Alabama loses, it doesn't happen often, Mark, as you know, but when it does, usually the quarterback play for the other team is spectacular. And Justin Fields was spectacular against Clemson. He's a phenomenally talented athlete. He can throw it. He's got a laser for an arm. He can run. They can run design runs for him. That keeps the defense off balance because you have to look for him. If you're in man coverage and you got your back turned, he's going to take off. So I think it starts right there. If Justin Fields plays the way he did against Clemson, Ohio State's going to be hard to beat for Alabama or anybody. Then you add in Sermon with that downhill running game, and when he gets to the second level, he's running over guys. And so I think that's probably where it starts. If Justin Fields plays like he did against Northwestern, I think Alabama's going to win the game. If Justin Fields plays like he did against Clemson and elevates his game to that level, they're going to have a really good shot to win. Now, line of scrimmage-wise, you're talking about two really good offensive lines. Alabama and Ohio State both are terrific offensive lines. The defensive lines for both teams are athletic, can make plays, But I do think there's potential for both Ohio State's offensive line and Alabama's offensive line to control the line of scrimmage, which leads me to believe that we're going to have another one of these shootout type games in the 30s or into the 40s. I think both defenses are capable of making plays, but the Ohio State secondary has struggled at times. In fact, they've struggled quite often. And if they don't get pressure on Mac Jones, he can pick them apart. And the same goes for Alabama on defense. If you don't get some pressure on Justin Fields, he's going to make plays in the passing game. So I think that Ohio State's best shot is for Fields to come as close as he can to reproducing that effort against Clemson and to make this a shootout game, because Alabama's going to score points. We know that. They've scored points against everybody that they played. In fact, the 31 against Notre Dame is the first time they've been held under 35 all year. So I think for Ohio State, they're thinking we got to get into the 30s. We got to get into the 40s to have a chance to win.
Exceptional stuff as always from Gary Harris, WVUA sports director there in Tuscaloosa. Gary, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate it. Know you have a ton of stuff going on to keep track of these two teams and another national championship game appearance for the Tide.
Thank you, Mark.